I never imagined that the quiet life D-built would be interrupted by a knock on my apartment door at 2:47 a.m. The corridor outside was silent, the city asleep, yet the sound felt heavy, deliberate, like it carried the weight of something that would change everything. When I opened the door, two men in dark suits stood there, neither smiling, neither blinking more than necessary. They didn't introduce themselves. They didn't have to. He's seen that kind of presence before. The kind that belongs to people who move in the shadows and rewrite history without leaving fingerprints. They simply said, "We need you." Within an hour, I was seated inside a window-tinted military transport vehicle, the city lights shrinking behind us. My clearance had been dormant for years, long enough for me to believe I had finally escaped that world. But as the folder slid across the steel table in front of me, I knew I'd been wrong. On the cover was a photograph. I recognized instantly the face of the president, the man whose regime had fractured a nation and left millions in fear. Beneath the image, a single line was typed: "Objectivity and extraction non-negotiable." My role wasn't like any I'd handled before. I was not just surveillance, not just infiltration. They wanted me embedded, close enough to breathe the same air as him without being seen, close enough to anticipate his thoughts, his movements, his vanishing exits. I wasn't chosen because I was the best. I was chosen because I was the one he would never suspect. For 3 months, I lived under a new identity, a logistics contractor assigned to one of his private security convoys. My days were quiet, uneventful on the surface, but beneath that calm lay endless calculation. Every gate, every corridor, every blind corner in every compound he visited. I studied the rhythm of his life, the way a surgeon studies the heartbeat before slicing into living tissue. He trusted no one. Not generals, not ministers, not even the men who guarded him. But power has a rhythm, and arrogance has a pattern. His greatest weakness was the comfort of repetition. Every Thursday he slipped away from official protocol, visiting a private residence on the edge of the old industrial district. Far from cameras, far from state escorts. Only 5 men knew of that route. I became the 6th. The night of the mission, the sky felt heavy clouds, pressing low as if the city itself was holding its breath. My earpiece buzzed with faint transmissions, each voice controlled and distant, like they were speaking through clenched teeth. Phase 1 in motion. I walked beside the convoy, head lowered, face expressionless, playing my role to perfection. To them, I was invisible. Another uniform in the blur of authority. At 21:14 hours, the convoy turned onto the narrow access road, just as predicted. Only this time, the world around us shifted. The streetlights went dark in perfect synchronization. Not one flicker, not one delay. The engines fell quiet as if swallowed by the night. Silence then. Basi. 2. Drones glided overhead, soundless shadows dissolving into the clouds. The air trembled, distant but precise. I felt my pulse slow, not from fear, but from the cold clarity that descends when there is no turning back. Inside the vehicle, the president sensed it too. His voice cut through the dark sharp, commanding, but laced with something he rarely allowed anyone to hear. "Dow." He shouted orders. No response. Communications were severed. The men around him reached for weapons that no longer mattered. This was not a fight. This was a removal. My cue arrived not as a command, but as a brief, controlled breath in my ear. Execute. I opened the door. stepped inside the vehicle, and faced him. For a moment, the world froze. His eyes met mine. Confusion first, then recognition, then betrayal. He realized, too late, that the threat had never come from beyond the walls. It had walked beside him. We moved with precision. No theatrics, no raised voices, no wasted motion. His wrists were secured, his defenses dissolved into silence. The man who once commanded armies now sat still, staring at the floor, as if the reality of his fall had swallowed the air around him. Outside, the night resumed its sound wind, faint echoing traffic, a distant dog barking. The world continued, unaware that a chapter of power had just been erased. As we lifted off from the extraction point, I looked down at the darkened city. I should have felt victory, but instead I felt the weight of something else. The realization that even triumph leaves shadows behind, because missions like these don't end when the target is captured. They echo, and those echoes follow you. Even now, when I close my eyes, I still hear that single moment of silence. The instant power changed hands without a word, and history rewrote itself in the dark.